What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dan, and you're watching my vlog. And I wanted to cover something today that's really been kind of bugging me. I know I've made a lot of videos lately. I've been very busy with school and work, so I figured I'd just do a quick video. And here's how it goes. So there's been a lot of talk recently, and I've seen these videos that certain people just don't seem to want to respect free speech. And by that I mean the fact that I was watching a video that from Toronto where they wanted to make a law basically protecting everyone's, you have to say everyone's pronouns or you get penalized, which I think is fucking stupid. Because here's what I honestly believe. That I believe at most, there are three, and then I'll explain why. But for the most part, you have male and female, him and her. Now, the reason why I say that there's possibly a third one, and this goes into neurology, that sometimes people are born, because your gender is determined by the clusters and nodes in your brain. It's very complicated, but that's why, and it typically happens with certain hormones that trigger these growths. Why trans people exist, because the hormone that would normally, say in a trans woman who, when she was male, during development, normally it would make her, align with her body, doesn't occur, and it's another hormone that's released. So it's possible that basically, so that's how trans, at least that's the current working hypothesis. So it is possible, and it's very extremely rare to get a person who's basically would be true gender fluidity. Basically, they're born and they're not quite either gender. But we're talking that these would be really, really fucking rare. Like, I mean, trans people, for instance, are like less than 1% of the population. A person who's gender fluid or two-spirit or whatever the fuck you want would be exceedingly rare, and it wouldn't really matter. I hate to say it, but it's, yes, you say, okay, you can choose to, but for the most part, I think most of these people who are doing these gender, I'm, Zer, Zim, by the way, funny joke, Zim is spelled Z-H-I-M, and I've been playing a lot of Civilization, because it just came out, and if you look at the way, like, Chinese words are spelled, ZH is a J sound, so Zim is actually Jim. I know this is a stupid thing, but I always found that really fucking hilarious. But, so, I don't have problems with, and actually there's, to be fair, there is certain precedent for existing, at least not all these fucking weird genders, but like a person who's not quite seeing themselves as male or female, they're kind of walk, because there's at least, I think there's people who kind of walked the border who were trans or two-spirited as well, back during, like, in tribal times. Like, I'm talking about, like, Neolithic, or no, probably more Paleolithic, were considered, like, touched by the divine. There was a book I was reading, a book series, The Children of Earth, and there's a shaman who they encounter who is, he's male, but he kind of apparently embodies both spirits, which would make sense. I mean, if you're superstitious people and you believe that, in like the Mother Earth and the Father Sky, or the Father, and this one is like the Father Moon, then you're gonna believe that, embodying both spirits is extremely powerful, and clearly, or anybody who's male who embodies female, and vice versa. They basically, in the story, they said anybody who was trans or two-spirited were almost automatically brought into the priest group in the from one of the main characters. These groups called the Zelandani, and that was the tribal. They would bring in them to the spirit. So you're in touch with the spirit well better, and that's so clearly humanity has had. I mean, and by the way, the books was actually pretty well researched. So there's a pretty good chance that, and there's even stories that people who are gay or trans, like Native Americans, were basically a lot of times made into the shamans and the teachers. So there's precedent. So I do believe that there's possible, but the extra, all these, crazy, like, so I was watching a video from Blair White. She was talking about all this, how kind of crazy this stuff is. It really looked like, if any of you have ever played Pokemon, I swear I was looking at like a box full of unknowns. The Pokemon Unknown, the one that kind of looks like a bunch of letters. It looked like all that fucking shit, and it was like, or I thought I was looking at like ancient Egyptian, like either no, it's not hieroglyphs. It's more like cuneiform. So it was kind of a crazy, or it could be like some sort of pattern you'd see on like a Native American, like I've heard they call it not pictograms, but like ideograms. So basically, they'd be like ideograms. So, yeah, I mean, I got, but my big problem again, go back to what I was saying about free speech. My big problem lately is that that ironically you have all these SJWs, these really extreme feminists. And I say extreme because I've talked to, and I've seen a few feminists. They're largely second waves who were a lot more rational, and they kind of left, but I digress. But you see these really hardcore, like, SJWs, who are, like, basically trying to really fleece you. In the same way that the religious right was trying to regulate the expression of religion. I mean, and I'm working on a whole video about comparing SJWs to, this right, believe it or not, they have a shit ton in common. But what I would like to take a look at is that they're basically, a lot of them want to abolish free speech because to make everyone uber PC. Now, here's the thing. Grow the fuck up. Free speech requires, a certain level of mental fortitude. I recognize the fact that, when you deal with people, the right for me to say, my expression means I'm going to have to deal with people. Now, I forget what it, there's an old saying that says, your right to throw a punch ends at the tip of my nose. So that's, for me, when it comes to free speech, that's your limit. You basically, and that's basically the way laws of people, but these SJWs want to rewrite things. They want everybody to be protected. And all. I'm like, people aren't that way. You're acting like a child. They're like, teacher, they said something I don't like. Well, fucking grow up. Deal with it. I do. Someone makes fun of me for being fat or for being autistic. Well, they don't really make me being autistic, but they make fun of things I do because I'm autistic, or because I've been accosted because of my atheism. Not very strongly, but that very that very like condescending way. Because I was at work and someone's like, "Do you believe in God?" I'm like, "No, there's just no. I don't believe any gods." And they like, "Don't worry, I'll pray for you." I'm like, "Okay, you have a nice day." Like, I get that. I'm not gonna stop people from pestering me. It's the right as a person with free speech to express their opinions. And once they start getting in my face and like being like getting really aggressive, that's when I go, okay, back the fuck. You have a nice. And then they get really aggressive. Then I go talk to my boss, because if I'm at work, clearly, that's the point I'm saying is, stating your opinion should not be punishable. And just choosing to be a dick, because you're like, well, I'm not going to acknowledge your silly pronouns, doesn't mean you should be penalized. That's thought policing, and I hate thought policing. A good democracy cannot run with thought police. The founding fathers saw that. That's why they wrote in the First Amendment, Congress shall make no laws establishing a religion or forbidding one, and shall not make any laws inhibiting freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of press and expression, and association. So basically, you get to choose, you can be whatever the fuck you want. And I've always respected that. And I think that the problem again is Canada doesn't have that ironclad law like we do. I think a lot of nations fear that law. They're almost in awe of the United States. I hate to be so Amerocentric, but that is a very big thing. Like, that people go, holy shit, you can say shit in the U.S. and go, yeah, fuck you. I don't give a fuck. You can have a neo-Nazi running down the street saying, kill all Jews or whatever. As long as he's not shooting that person, he's within his right to say that. You have the right to have a Klansman or a Black Lives Matter walk down the street. In fact, you have the right to watch those two duke it out, because they're clearly like the foil to each other. They're quite literally the inverse of each other. You have a lot of these Black Lives Matters who are the black KKK. But again, I'm gonna reiterate. I think we really need to put an end to this. People need to nip this in the butt, because this is my problem with people. They're trying. I have no wrong with people being politically correct. But I don't believe we should be censoring people, because someone once told me that I'd rather, PC culture drives dissenters underground. It also drives radicals underground. I'd rather know who the radicals are than them to be hiding. I'd rather know who the crazy Islamists are. I'd rather know who the crazy racist is. You know why? Because if we know who they are, we ridicule them. And then clearly they see that their beliefs are weird. And then people go, yeah, they're not persecuted, they're just stupid. That's in many ways how racism has, for the most part, in the mainstream, in the big, died out. Yes, does racism still happen? Of course. In some ways, that's why we do have laws. I do respect the rights to make laws to protect the people, but I don't respect the rights to censor people. I respect the right to say, you can't refuse business, you can't attack people, you can't bar them from access to certain places. Within a reasonable, I know that there's certain times you can do that, like say, if you say this place, like, is for veterans, or this is private property and you're only certain people allowed, like Masonic lodges, or, though they're not common, you may have certain areas like in like secret societies. So yeah, this is private property, you can't be here. But I don't believe people should have the right to tell. That's why, again, when we saw those people basically refusing to bake cakes for gay people, I'm like, that's fucked up. But because they're private, they have the right to say no, but you're going to suffer from that. But I mean, getting back to my original point, the fact that the government should not be telling you how to fucking speak. That's what society is. Society, as opposed to government. Government's more of a formal contract between the people and, each other. And the state basically is represented. But society is kind of a more informal one. We have customs, we have traditions, we have ways of thinking that, that aren't written down. They're just picked up. And I think in that case we need, that's where the, pronoun stuff should stay. It should stay in the more informal. It doesn't need to be formalized. People forget it's very hard to get formalities changed. It's much easier to change the moral zeitgeist and the general society than it is to change the laws. So that's all I gotta say. My name is Dan. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, hit subscribe, and I will be doing more videos where you can see my big, fat, hairy face. And I'll see you later. Bye.